What's up guys, and welcome to Drive Steady. BMW and Mercedes have released new versions of their bread and butter SUVs, the X5 and the GLE. In this video, I'm going to do a comparison of the standard features and options between the two cars and end the video with an estimated lease payment calculation. I hope that this video will help guide a decision if you happen to be cross-shopping these cars. Let's start off with the pricing, shall we? The BMW X5 comes in at a base MSRP of $60,700 for the X40I, and the X50I comes in at $75,750. The Mercedes GLE comes in at $56,200, and the 450 comes in at $61,150. The pricing difference between these two cars and the various trim levels that they're offered in is due to the engines, which we'll talk more about later on in the video. Starting off with the exterior dimensions, both the X5 and the GLE have similar ones. They both measure 194 inches in length. The X5 is a little wider at 87.3 inches versus the 84.9 of the GLE. However, the GLE is a little taller by almost 2 inches at 70.7 inches versus 69 inches in the X5. The wheelbase in both cars is similar, but one thing to mention is that the GLE has grown a full 3 inches in its wheelbase versus the outgrowing model. Next are the interior dimensions, and I know this is important for a lot of people because you experience the car the most in the interior. On the screen, you'll see a comparison of the interior dimensions of the X5 and the Mercedes GLE. Highlighting some of the differences between the two cars, the X5 has more front headroom and front shoulder room, and on the flip side, the Mercedes has more rear headroom, rear legroom, and rear shoulder room. You could argue that the interior dimension differences are marginal. However, one point to argue is that the GLE has almost 3 inches of more legroom in the rear versus the X5. This is something to consider if you've got taller individuals who sit in the back seat. Moving to the cargo space, when the second row is folded up, the X5 is a little roomier at 33.9 cubic feet versus the Mercedes' 29.1 cubic feet. However, the flip side of that, when the second row seats are folded down, for some reason the Mercedes has 0.3 cubic feet more, coming in at 72.6 versus 72.3. Again, this is something that's marginal, but it could make a difference for those who are very particular about these numbers. Rounding out the interior dimension discussion, it seems that the X5 is roomier for the front passengers, but the GLE is comfier for the rear passengers. Like I mentioned, the cargo room is marginally swayed to either side if you've got the second row up or the second row down. And obviously, with these cars now being available with 3-row seating, your cargo space is going to be sacrificed if you option that third row seat. Now moving to the design, both cars have gone through full exterior redesigns and are all new for the 2019 model for the X5, and the GLE will be coming in as a 2020 model. The X5 sports a sleek and sporty design, while the GLE seems cleaner and more reserved. These are typical design languages between these two German manufacturers. BMW and Mercedes, they don't really deviate from their styling cues, and the GLE and the X5 are no different. Next, I'm going to talk about the trims and the engines that come in the various trim levels that are available in each one of these cars. The BMW offers 2 trim levels for the X5, the xDrive 40i and the xDrive 50i. The Mercedes also offers 2 trims, the GLE 350 and the 450. This fits as a good segue into the engine topic, and there are 2 different approaches here by each company. At the time of this video, BMW has their wonderful turbocharged straight-six engine, which has 335 horsepower and 330 foot-pounds of torque. And in the X50, they have a massive V8 with 456 horsepower and 479 foot-pounds of torque. So BMW is offering a 6-cylinder and an 8-cylinder. Mercedes, on the other hand, is offering a turbocharged four-cylinder with 255 horsepower and 276 pounds-feet of torque in the GLE 350. In the GLE 450, they have a straight six with 362 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. And if you're not aware, this straight six engine is the one that Mercedes is using across a lot of its AMG 53 models. So that's the E53, the CLS 53, and this particular engine has a electric boosted motor in it. So this 362 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque is including that electric boosted motor. So with that, there is no V8 in the Mercedes. Therefore, if you're a V8 kind of guy or gal, the BMW is your choice at this time. It remains to be seen if BMW will offer a lower trim level, possibly with their four-cylinder turbocharged engine as well. And that'll allow for a lower price point like the Mercedes has with the 350. Next, I want to move to another important topic, and that's gas mileage. The X40I has the six-cylinder and it gets 20 miles per gallon in the city and 26 on the highway for a combined average of 23. And it comes with a hefty size fuel tank at 21.9 gallons. Now, if you live in the part of the country where gas has gotten very expensive, above $4, you're looking at a fill up between like $80 to $100 depending on what grade fuel you use. Next is the GLE with the four-cylinder. It comes in at 19 miles per gallon in the city and 26 on the highway for a combined average of 22.5. The Mercedes comes with a little bit bigger gas tank at 22.5 gallons. I find it very interesting that the BMW is able to beat the gas mileage figures of the Mercedes with a bigger and more powerful engine. So good job to BMW for being able to pull that off. Next is the transmission and drivetrain. The BMW comes with a wonderful 8-speed automatic that allows you to shift your own gears with the center shifter or with the paddle shifters on the wheels. On the flip side, the Mercedes has their 9-speed automatic, which also allows you to shift via the console shifter or the shifting paddles on the steering wheel. At the time of this recording, all the trim levels, whether X5 or GLE, come standard with all-wheel drive. I know that Mercedes is making the GLE 350 in a rear-wheel drive format. However, I'm not sure about BMW and if they're going to make the lower trim level engine with a rear-wheel drive. Staying on the topic of all-wheel drive and the capabilities that it offers, I'm sure many people aren't going to buy these big luxury SUVs for its towing capabilities. However, the Mercedes tops the X5 as it can pull 7,700 pounds versus the 7,200 pounds in the BMW. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the performance of these two SUVs. The BMW predictably is faster, going from 0 to 60 in an impressive 5.3 seconds, which is largely contributed to the four-wheel drive and probably to the fact that BMW's straight six has more power than the advertised 335. This is very typical of BMW. They have a big history of underrating their engines. Now, the Mercedes, on the other hand, gets 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds, which is quite slow considering that it has four-wheel drive and it's lighter than the BMW. But this car isn't really trying to be a quick SUV, and Mercedes typically leaves that for their AMG model cars. Now that we've talked generally about the X5 and the GLE regarding its price and its performance and the interior dimensions, exterior dimensions, the styling, I want to go into a little bit of the standard features and compare these two cars so you get a good feel of what you're getting standard and then optional as well, and highlighting some of the differences. Starting out with more of the mechanical, suspension, engine, transmission differences. Both cars have standard start and stop technology. This is when you come to a red light, the car automatically shuts off. When you take your foot off the brake, the car engine will automatically turn on and you just drive off. It's very seamless nowadays. It used to be not as smooth as it is today, but the start-stop technology is definitely very cool. Both cars have standard selective dampening suspensions. What that means is you can change the way your suspension stiffens or softens based off of your road conditions. Both cars have driver selecting modes, which allows you to choose between comfort, sport, eco, off-road based off of the driving conditions. And typically what this is tied to is throttle response, dynamic suspension, and in addition to the steering feel. Sometimes you'll notice when you put it in sport mode, your steering feel gets a little tighter or a little looser depending on what mode you're in. Next are the wheels. Both come standard with 19-inch wheels. So if you're considering buying tires, the 19-inch wheels are definitely something that's more affordable because these cars come optional with 20 and 21-inch wheels and even 22-inch wheels. Next, I want to talk about another important topic, and that's safety. Safety features in modern cars are becoming more and more popular. And most of these manufacturers are putting a lot of them in as standard, in addition to offering them with enhanced safety features as optional. Now, BMW and Mercedes offer very similar safety technology. However, because of their branding models, they name them differently. So what I'm going to do is give them generic terms and hopefully they make sense. Both the X5 and the GLE come with the typical standard features that you find in most modern cars today. Things such as anti-lock brakes, traction control, dynamic stability control, all these wonderful technologies that keep us safe on the road. Now moving into the more cooler standard features, and both of these cars come with blind spot detection lights. These are typically the little indicators in your mirror that tell you if you've got a car in your blind spot. Both of these cars also have rear cross traffic alert indicators, and these are very helpful. I can tell you from my own experience in being a BMW owner. Next is the very typical rear view cameras. Both of these cars come with that. Next is a very cool technology called adaptive braking. What this does is it adapts the brake feel, and basically the way it does that is by bringing the brake pad closer to the brake disc or the brake rotor, which results in a more sensitive brake feel, which can result in you stopping your car faster. So if you need to make an immediate stop, your brakes automatically detect that you want to stop quicker and they move closer to the brake pad. Therefore, the traveling distance the pad has to do to get to the rotor is shorter, hence making your stopping power greater. Another feature that this is used for is when you're on uphill angles, the brakes apply so the vehicle doesn't roll backwards. That's also another very helpful feature. Both cars have tire pressure monitoring systems, as well as rain sensing windshield wipers and automatic dimming mirrors. I find the rain sensing windshield wipers to be very helpful, especially if you live in an area where there's a lot of rain. These work very well and are very sensitive to even light rain, and the automatic dimming mirrors are very, very helpful at night. Both cars come standard with heated front seats, and they also have power lift gates and hand-free access. Now what this is you basically push a button on your key fob, and what it does, it automatically opens your lift gates or your trunk, and hands-free access is really cool, and it's been in German automobiles for a while now. And what this does is if both your hands are occupied and you can't get your key fob and you can't reach under the lift gate to open your trunk, you just use your leg and you kick towards the bottom underneath your bumper, and the lift gate automatically opens by itself. Next, we move to the interior similarities. Both cars come standard with rear folding seats and universal garage door openers. Here's another interesting similarity that touches on the interior technology between the BMW and the Mercedes, in that both cars come with two 12.3-inch screens. One is in the center infotainment system, which is touchscreen, and the other is the center gauge cluster, typically where your speedometer is, your gas gauges, your RPMs, things of that nature. Now we move to the infotainment area of both of these cars, and they come with voice activated command. The Mercedes is taking a little bit of an interesting approach here, as they're offering a keyword activation. Keywords such as "Hey Mercedes," and the car responds back to you. It's going along the lines of what Amazon is doing with "Hey Alexa." Both cars come with Apple CarPlay, however the Mercedes adds Android Auto. So if you're an Android user, it's something to keep in mind if you're planning on connecting your phone to your car. The Mercedes and the BMW come standard with navigation. They both have adaptive LED lights. Staying on the technology front, and everybody's connected nowadays. You're on Facebook, social media, everybody's got their own smartphone, your children have their own smartphones. So what these manufacturers are doing is putting in more USB connections to be able to charge your phones, to connect your phone to your car. And what's happening is Mercedes and BMW are fitting in the new type of connectors. These are the Type-C connectors for Android devices, which is the equivalent to the Lightning port or Lightning cables for the Apple users. Again, staying on the interior, both cars have opening roofs, but they take different approaches. The Mercedes has a sunroof, while the BMW has a panoramic moonroof. And we'll explain the differences between those two coming up next. The last similarity is an optional trim, and both of the manufacturers are offering external visual enhancing packages. For the Mercedes, it's the AMG Sport package. For the BMW, it's the M Sports package. Both of these add new aerodynamic front bumpers, rear bumpers. They offer sportier steering wheels and seats for the interior, amongst many other things. But now I want to move on to the differences, and there isn't a particular order here, and it's going to touch on some of the things I've also mentioned earlier. The first difference between these two cars is related to the airbags. The Mercedes comes with 9 airbags and the BMW comes with 7. I'm going to caveat that 7 number because I wasn't able to get a definitive number online anywhere. For some reason, it's not clear on any website, even on BMWs. Next are the USB features. The Mercedes has 5 Type-C USB outlets and the BMW has 4. The next difference is about a topic we talked about earlier, and that's the sunroof versus the moonroof. Sunroof is typically a body-colored panel that can tilt up or slide all the way back. A moonroof is a type of sunroof, but it's typically made of transparent glass. As a reminder, the BMW has the moonroof and the Mercedes has the sunroof. However, you can option a moonroof or a panoramic roof in the Mercedes for an extra $1,000. Another mechanical difference between the two is that the Mercedes can be purchased without four-wheel drive, so you can get it in a rear-wheel drive configuration. As I mentioned before, I'm not sure if BMW is going to offer that. The X5 is a heavier car at 4,813 pounds versus the Mercedes is 4,696 pounds, and I'm sure that's contributed to the larger engine in the BMW. The Mercedes has standard keyless entry, while the BMW offers it as optional. I think this is pretty ridiculous nowadays, considering that many low-end Japanese cars or even American cars offer standard keyless entry and push-button start. Next, I want to talk about the optional features, and Mercedes and BMW offer a long slew of options in both cars, but they take an interesting approach. BMW is bundling some of their options and calling them tiers. However, you can get most of them individually, so they do a good job there, but Mercedes is taking a typical approach, and you pick your model, your GLE 350, and then you pick your options individually. So let's start out with the exterior. Mercedes and BMW offer the M Sport and the AMG trims like I mentioned earlier. The Mercedes starts at $2,900 for the Sport Pack, while the BMW is quite a bit more expensive at $6,000 extra for the M Sport design. In the BMW, you can go all the way up to 22-inch wheels, while in the Mercedes, you can go up to 21-inch wheels. Next, staying on the exterior, the Mercedes offers a red color, although it's an extra $1,000 because it's a special Designo color. Nonetheless, if you're a red car person and you wanted the X5, sorry, they don't offer it in a red color. And for the first time, both the X5 and GLE are offered with third row seats. In the Mercedes, it costs $2,100, and in the BMW, it's similarly priced at $2,200. Both can have leather dashboards. The Mercedes is $700 and the BMW is almost double the price at $1,200. If you upgrade the stereo, the BMW will cost you $875, while the Mercedes packages it in a premium package and it costs $1,850. Both cars are offered with heads-up displays as options. BMW offers it within a package and also as a standalone option. Mercedes only offers it within a package. Here's something cool and useful. Both cars offer heated and cooled cup holders. The Mercedes offers it individually as a $180 option, which is a great value if you enjoy having a beverage in your car. BMW also offers it, but it's part of a more expensive package, which costs $3,400. Yikes. So if it's something that you're really interested in, you're going to have to pony up and you get it as a part of a bigger package. Another feature we love in the luxury car market are soft closed doors. Both cars offer it, the BMW for $600 and the Mercedes for $550. If you've never experienced these, they're great. You just have to be a little careful. There are some horror stories with people getting their fingers stuck in between these. And the way these operate is basically you don't have to slam the door shut. You just leave it kind of close to the door latch and the system will automatically suck the door in and close the doors for you. Now, both cars have advanced safety features where they add these things such as advanced cruise control with start and stop technology, lane keeping assist, automatic lane changing, and then evasion assist. Mercedes has this as a $2,250 option and BMW has this as a $1,700 option. Now, one of the key pieces of information I want to tell you is that the Mercedes has a longer list of safety features. This is something that Mercedes is starting to do more recently. They're paying more attention to the safety items in their cars. Not to say that the BMW isn't there as far as safety goes, but the Mercedes is paying a little bit more attention to it. BMW offers rear seat entertainment for $2,200. These are the screens, I believe they're 10.5 inches on the back of each headrest. These are useful if your children like watching cartoons or if your adults like watching movies on long road trips. The Mercedes unfortunately does not offer this. The BMW has these really cool laser lights, the Mercedes does not. The Mercedes and the BMW can be optioned with ventilated and massaging seats. I find the ventilated seats to be very helpful, especially if you live in an area where it's very hot and muggy. These work really well in conjunction with the AC. In the BMW, it'll cost you $1,600 and in the Mercedes, it will cost $1,650. Keep in mind that if you like these features, you have to upgrade to leather seats, which basically will cost you more money as well. These are the things that we were able to identify as far as similarities in standard features, some of the differences in those standard features, and also some of the differences when you talk about the options that are available for these cars. Now I wanted to talk about the leasing options for the X5 and the GLE 350. If you're interested in this lease calculator that I've developed, I'll put a link to it in the description below and also at the top of your screen. Now I'm going to start off with the X5 in the X40 trim. And as you can see here, the residual and the money factor and the MSRP are the most important parts along with the selling price. Now, as a piece of information, these leases are calculated based off of 36-month leases with 10,000 miles a year allowance. With those numbers, the BMW X5's residual is 59%, the money factor is 0.00165, and for the MSRP, I'm going to assume a basic car with just the destination and the handling for BMW. To determine the selling price, what I've done is gone to TrueCar and configured a base model X5, and the average discount that it came out to is $58,751. So assuming these numbers here, your residual is $36,400, your depreciation is $620 a month, your interest, which is calculated from the money factor, is $156 a month. Your total without tax is $787.86. The tax here is calculated at 9%. For the county you live in, for the state you live in, it's going to be a different value. But this is calculated at 9%. And your total payment for an X5 with a $61,000 price tag and a $3,000 discount should be about $850. To caveat this $847 payment, it does not include any local county fees or DMV fees, registration fees. Also, it does not include any dealer fees, documentation fees. However, those items shouldn't bring up your monthly payments significantly, but this $847 should be a good baseline figure for you to start with. Next, coming on over into the Mercedes, and I'm going to configure a GLE 350. The residual is the same as the X5. The money factor is a little lower at 0.00142. The MSRP, of course, is less because of the 4-cylinder option that I described earlier at $56,200. And since the GLE is brand new, it wasn't in the TrueCar website. What I did is I went to cars.com and AutoTrader and discovered that not many discounts were offered. Therefore, I just took a generic $1,000 off the car. So your residual is $33,158. Your depreciation is $612 a month. Your interest is $125 a month. So your total without tax is $737.75. Assuming the 9% tax of $66, your total with tax is $804. Again, the same assumptions go with the X5. It does not include any dealer fees and local state fees and registrations and DMV related items. This gives you a good idea between the two vehicles. Naturally, the X5 is going to be more expensive because it has a higher price tag. However, on the Mercedes side of the fence, even though the residuals are the same, the money factor is lower, also contributing to a lower monthly payment. The money factor basically translates to your interest rate or your APR. Now, both of these cars are north of $800, so these are pretty expensive considering that they are base cars. I do anticipate that as the model years continue to progress, bigger discounts will become available and you should be able to get these cars at lower prices. Overall, both are very similarly equipped. The Mercedes has a couple more comfort and convenience features along with some more safety features. On the flip side, the X5 is also a great vehicle, but it's a little different in its approach as it's a little bit more driver focused. It's a little more sporty. You can look at some of the options that are available, especially the M Sport package. It comes with M Sport differentials, M Sport suspensions, and is more, like I said, it's more sporty. I've owned an X5 before, not this generation, a couple generations prior, and I felt the same way. It's a very sporty car. It's more driver focused. And that's the end of our video. I hope this was helpful to the individual who's cross shopping these two cars. And in the future, if you would like for us to do different model comparisons, let us know by putting a comment down below. And as always, till next time, drive steady.